Listen, I understand that I'm late, but I'm here now, and that's what matters. Let me spend the next 20 minutes or so explaining to you how I knew right from the onset that nobody was getting married. Spoiler warning. Oops. I guess I let it slip. Let's share the screen and get right into it. So it begins with the bachelor party. This was the most janky bachelor party they have ever graced us with. They didn't go anywhere. They, like, rented out the conference room at the Holiday Inn down the street and threw some fake snowballs, maybe. They got some rings from the dollar store. There was zero thought or planning put into this. The producers knew. You cannot convince me that the producers did not know that none of these were happening. And so, this is where I go on my exploration, deep dive into how this is all a conspiracy and the producers knew right from jump that none of these couples wanted to be together. None of these couples were getting married, and they were just trying to drag it out for however many seasons. How they incentivize the couples or threaten the couples, it is not for me to say. But it is for me to say that they put no thought or planning into any of these weddings, any of these events. And I think that the producers knew way beforehand, which is why they didn't bother shooting their budget, like, spending their budget. Because when have we ever got a bachelor party like this? When has this ever been one of the bachelor parties? They usually go places, they usually have fun. This right here is the only photographic evidence that we even have that KB was at the bachelor party because they didn't even bother interviewing her. Guys, same thing. They rented out the Quest Inn down the street, dragged in a pool table. Actually, no, the pool table was already there, and literally had the bachelor party next door. This was not a Western theme, like, it looked like a barn when they were panning in, but then you get inside, and this is notably not a barn. This is notably not even really themed. So but then again, I'm Canadian, so we tend to wear plaid anyways. Plaid is kind of dressy for us. So we as far as I'm concerned, plaid does not equal Western. Edmund was there, we think. KB on her way in, out, who knows? Like I said, they never talked to her, they never talked to her friends, they never like this that was the 2 scenes that I just showed you were the entire content of KB's information. Now, the real MVP of the episode, Ali's friends. This was the Russian one. She reminds me, there is this girl on TikTok who does this. What is it? This Russian sugar baby character. I love it. That's who this was. Like, they could have taken her out and replaced her with this other girl. I wish I knew her name. She used to be on my algorithm. I used to see her all the time. Somehow she fell off. If my algorithm rhythm is listening, like, put her back on because she was hilarious. Oh, I wish I remembered her name. But yeah, she's all like, Allie's like, "Well, I really fell in love with him and he had a lot of potential." And her friend was like, "Yeah, but he also has the potential to just be a truck driver." Now, I am so tired of the Allie hate. I think that if you want to have a certain life for yourself and that's the life you want to build, then you are totally entitled to be able to try and build that life for yourself. If you don't want to be with somebody, for whatever reason, you don't really owe anybody an explanation, even if the reason is money. I don't understand why there are so many people who are, like, windmilling, trying to convince her and everyone around her that she needs to be with Anton regardless of how much money he makes, when if she doesn't want to be with somebody that she perceives as not making enough money, then that's her choice. The real question is, will somebody who does have all of the money choose her? Like, she can want what she wants, but unless somebody wants her back. But do I think that Anton is a brokey like she's trying to make him out to be? No, I don't. But if you know, the other thing is that she is going into her master's program. If she's a nurse, she's going into a master's program. That's generally the equivalent of a nurse practitioner. I believe she's probably going to get her nurse practitioner, which is essentially like a med school. So she will be able to be like, it's like a doctor, a nurse practitioner. They're like doctors. They can have family patients, they have prescribing powers. A lot of people have nurse practitioners as their primary care physician. without even realizing it, because a lot of them can go by doctor because they have their master's in nursing, they have their doctorate in nursing, and now they can essentially perform the exact same role as a doctor. So if that's basically the job that she's getting ready to study for, then yeah, I get why cleaning and cooking is not on her priority list because she is essentially going to med school. And when she comes out, she's going to have a very high earning potential as well. If she does not want to then choose to subsidize the life of someone that she is not sure she wants to be with, I get that. Is she right? Is she shallow? That's not for me to say. But she is entitled to want what she wants. And I'm not judging her for it. I am also in a master's program, and I also have days, weeks, months where I am so busy and overwhelmed, and I just cannot focus on cleaning. Do I let the house get horrible? No, I still, like, try to keep up, but I'm not going to be able to spend 6 hours on a Saturday deep cleaning the fridge and the banisters. Like, some things kinda have to give, and other people in the house have to try and pick up some of that slack, but in the end, at the end of the process, guess what? We're all in a better position. That's the give and take of a relationship. So, if she's not sure that he's gonna be able to support her through something as mentally and physically grueling as a master's program, especially as a nurse, and she's going to keep working a couple of shifts in order to be able to afford her Botox, then, it is what it is. Like, I just think that it's very harsh to criticize somebody who necessarily doesn't necessarily wanna struggle. Maybe she didn't talk about her background, but if she came from a background that struggles, if she came from not much money, if she came from, poverty or something close to it, or just watching her single mom work to afford, stuff for all of her, because they say I think she has a stepdad. They showed her stepdad, so that's the curious thing was her mom a single mom back in Brazil before they came to America? Because I think she meet her stepdad over the phone or something like that? Maybe I'm getting storylines crossed. But again, if she saw her mom struggling when she was younger, then I can get that she has worked so hard to get to be where she is, to being a travel nurse and building this life for herself. I can see not wanting to change it. Megan doesn't wanna change her life. We're not necessarily grilling her over it, but we'll get to that later. He wants to get married. Now, I am not saying that Ali is right or wrong. I'm not saying she's right or wrong. But, Anton, you are listing out all of the reasons why she is not the girl that you want. So why are you saying yes? I don't understand. Like, you are just setting yourself up for this. I thought that these 2 were gonna make it. I was pulling for them. I thought that they were going to make it. But the more Anton talks, the more we realize that there's nothing he likes about Ali except for her looks. But he's willing to put all of that aside and take her on anyways because looks are all that matters in love. Like, this is Love is Blind. I like, looks aren't supposed to play it. Whatever, whatever. This is where we are. This is the bar is in house. So that's that, I guess. He's telling his friends how she's nothing about she has none of the qualities that he wants in a wife, but he's gonna say yes anyways and ignore that. Friends, friends, still simping. I also believe that Anton should want what he wants, but I also believe that he should want better for himself. They're trying on those these rings, where are they? These 20-carat rings. Then we see Jordan. Jordan actually also there. Now attendance has been taken, we can move on to the wedding days. Oh, I guess I didn't get any pictures of them. Did I not get any Oh, I did. Megan's friends are there. They're also hanging out. They are so fabulous. And Miss Daddy's Money is saying that she's not sure that they're the right fit. Everybody else is like, "You're probably not the right fit," except for the one girl who's all like, "But you could have an amazing stepchild." Also, not a great reason for you to marry somebody, but if that's what you want, that's what you want. Like, I really, really think that that is a horrible idea. You cannot marry somebody because you want access to their child. I'm sorry, that's weird and totally bound to backfire and go horribly wrong. if you guys were to eventually split, because as the step parent, you have 0 rights to the child, like, you probably can't even get visitation unless you convince one of the actual parents that you get to see them, but again, life choices, life choices. But I don't think that any of this was real, like, I believe that this probably from mid-season is when the producers finally caught on that nobody was going to the end. I genuinely believe that these people all pulled their producer aside and was like, "Listen, this is not gonna happen. This is not working for me." And the producer's like, "I'm gonna need for you to just pretend." And they're like, "No, no, I can't pretend anymore." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen, I'm gonna need somebody to make it to that altar." This is how in my head, my theory of how it went, I cannot prove it, but this is what I think. Can we just say that Allie looks completely different? Like, I would not recognize her without any makeup on. She metamorphosizes with makeup. I'm not saying that in a bad way at all. I'm just saying I did not recognize her without her makeup. She's getting ready. He's getting ready. I also wanna say that watching this episode was like holding up a mirror. I think I mentioned before that I myself am a boy mom. I'm a mom of boys, I should say. I'm a proud boy mom. If I ever reach this level of boy mom, oh my god, like, shake me. Shake me and show me this, because yeah, no, I don't want to be that level of boy mom. That was a little cringy. I'm sure she loves her boy, I'm sure he's her entire world. I'm gonna need to keep a hobby. Now, let me know, did you get some kind of underlying tones of, "I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna make sure that she's going to marry him?" Because I got a little bit of that, like, "Let me go down and let me check out what's happening, because this girl had better say yes, and I need to, like, a little bit of the mafioso. It's a nice place you have here. It would be a shame if something happened to it." And her mom is all like, "Yeah, no, I got her. Don't worry. Don't worry." I knew that this was not real, that this was not gonna happen when I think that no, no, Allie had hair and makeup come for her, I believe. But I knew because, first of all, look at what her family is wearing. I'm not shaming them in any way, but if this was your wedding day, your family would come ready. Like, they're wearing fine clothes. I'm not trying to shame them at all. But usually the mother of the bride also has a special outfit. The sisters would also have an outfit. Why aren't the sisters in the wedding party? Interesting, right? This is the best friend sister. And she came and she kind of was like, "Listen, whatever happens, I'm not gonna like it, but I'm here because we're best friends and I love you." And I love that she put aside her own feelings to support her sister on this day. But again, I think everybody in this situation, except for possibly Anton and his mom, know what's gonna happen. Everybody on Allie's side, they all know what's gonna happen. I knew that she was gonna say no when I saw the bridesmaids' dresses. That's when I knew. I love the forest green for a color, like, for her colors. Let me see if I can find a dress of the bridesmaids. Okay, the bridesmaids 1, 2, and 3. 3 different shades of green, 3 different types of dress, like, forms of dress, 3 different types of fabric. We've met Allie. We've watched her this entire season. We know that aesthetics are a thing for her. I'm not saying that they would have identical dresses, but they would have dresses that were sisters, not cousins. They would have dresses that were all the same color or hue of green. Like, these 3 greens contrast. Like, all together, all 3 of them contrast. They don't go in a set. Like, you can probably pull off these 2, but again, the fabric is so different. But this one stands out, like, any way you kind of shape it. So I think it was, "Listen, girls, you are going to be my bridesmaids. Wear a green dress. We just gotta get through this." This is not the things that you overlook when you are seriously planning your wedding. Let me know if you notice that, and let me know if you get what I'm saying here. So they get to the altar. He, of course, says yes. We already know he's gonna say yes. She's stunning. That's it. Like, that's where her good traits end as far as he's going, but, like, he doesn't care. And she says no. We already knew that. She is heartbroken. She feels horrible for saying no, but she's not going to tie herself into something unhappy. The sisters are happy. But again, I think that she's been talking so much about her concerns that they're just like, obviously, no. They're probably more afraid of her saying yes accidentally than of her saying no. She does have a whole moment. See, you can see again, the dresses do not go together. They don't go together. Also, mom would also be matching. She wouldn't be contrasting if this was a real wedding. It's not a real wedding. None of the decorations were like really done. Like in the first few seasons, like when the people are getting married, they take the time to really, really plan out their weddings and they do it right. And there was no thought into this. It was just, "Let me get down that aisle and end it here." So next we have Edmund and KB. KB did her own hair, and that's when I knew for her. When she was sitting there doing her own hair and she turned to her sister and she's like, "How does it look?" And her sister's like, "Oh, it looks good." She's like, "Okay, I'm not even gonna redo it." Like, "Is that your hair from, like, running errands during the day?" But KB did her own hair. I knew. I knew she was not getting married as soon as that happened. Edmund's going through it. He is having his whole meeting in the why were they alone this time in the groom room? That didn't make any sense to me. Katie's mom came over to say hi. His 5th grade teacher flew in, which I thought was absolutely adorable. His mom didn't show up. What the heck? I wonder, here is my theory. I wonder if Edmund's mom was bitter about this meddling 5th grade teacher and how Edmund credits her for like saving his life and being there for him. I wonder if the mom is jealous of Edmund's relationship with the teacher and she's like, I'm not coming if she's going to be there. I wonder. This is purely based on speculation. This is purely based on me 100% now going down the conspiracy rabbit hole because we're here, we might as well make ourselves comfortable, right? So Edmund gets walked. I didn't get the right picture. Edmund is walked up the aisle by his 5th grade teacher. You can see her dressed exhibit A right here. And then KB comes up. She's walked by her mom. And of course, Edmund says yes, and KB just can't do it. But KB was so comforting, so soothing. She did give him a soft place to land. She helped him talk down from the blow of her saying no, and she was really there for him. They went out, they walked up, they walked out to this suspiciously placed platform here that would give them the best angles to be able to catch their breakup conversation, and it was the same thing. I don't believe that KB ever was gonna marry him, and that's why none of the like, this wedding had 0 special touches either. How the producers convinced them to go all the way to the altar, I don't know. Personally, if I were in this position, I don't know why I would be in this position marrying Edmund, but I don't know. If I started walking down the altar and I saw the pick in the hair on our wedding day, I would have turned around too. I wouldn't have even made it down there. I would have turned around because I was like, I would be so so done with the pic. How do you wear that on your wedding day? I cannot. His sister not sister, his teacher also comes to give him some reassurance, and she was so, so amazing for him. And then we go into the last 2. They didn't even make it to the church, which I appreciate because Luca probably would have been there at the wedding because how do you get married and not bring your child? And it would be horrible to see this happen in front of Luca. That would be absolutely traumatizing and just not fair to him. She says that she can't be with him because he can't talk or hang out with her all day. And he's like, I got a job. I got to work. I got a kid. Like, this is life. And she's like, "Yeah, but I really wanna go and I wanna go exploring, and I wanna go to hot yoga at 10 AM, and I wanna play tennis every Tuesday." And he's like, "I have to work, like, I have things that I have to do. This is a blue collar life." And she just does not want to she wants him to be him with all of his blue collarness, but in her life, and he just cannot adapt. Even if he could quit his job and follow her around, he still can't quit his job and follow her around because he's got to be there for Luca. And Luca is probably in school. If he's 6, yeah, he should be in kindergarten by now at least, maybe grade 1. He's got school Monday to Friday. He's got routines and blood sugars, and he cannot be running around and gallivanting, and I think it's really hard to understand for people who don't have children, even for step parents who come in at a later point in their life, like when they're 5 or 6 or 7 or even older. It's so hard to understand all of the concessions you have to make in your life to fit a child into it. You have to have bedtime and nap time and bath time and carrying around all of the necessities to facilitate these routines is a lot of work. Like a lot of time it's just easier, especially things that are more impulsive or, at the moment. It's really hard to be like, okay, we're going to go away on Tuesday. No, you have to plan that ahead of time and tell the kid and get them used to it in their minds and be like, "Hey, we are going on a trip to X, Y, and Z next week," so that they are prepared for the change and disruption to their schedule. And it seems easy enough, especially if you are, just coming in because sometimes kids are, like, super flexible, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're tired and rigid, and they just want to eat their goldfish, watch their cartoon, and go to bed. So I get why he is, saying, like, I cannot have this." She asks him for his views on their breakup, and he's like, "I got nothing to say, so bye." And that was the end of season 9. We do still have the reunion that is tonight, so I need to get this up and get this going. But let me know what you think. Like I said, I think that the producers have known for weeks at this point, not days, weeks, that these weddings are not going to happen. And that's why they put zero effort into any of these bachelor parties, any of these weddings. And now looking back, the final dates. Remember in past seasons, like all of the past seasons, they would always have these elaborate final dates and we would get them and they would be talking. We didn't get that. Like, we got the snowmobile ride with KB and Edmund. We got a sleigh ride with Anton and Allie, and we got, like, new hats. Like, the new hats were probably, like, the most elaborate date, but it's usually, like in past seasons, they would, like, rent out a theme park or they would didn't they rent out, like, a museum a couple of times? I don't know. I think that they knew. I think that they found some kinda way to push these last 3 to as close to the altar as possible, and I think they probably tried with the other 2, but just Nick and I think Nick and Joe were probably like, "Yeah, no, if I hold out any longer, she gonna go crazy." So, they just kind of walked away because, like, I don't know. I think that that is the difference between the 2 of them is that the 2 that broke up were the guys that broke it off, and maybe they were just like, "Yeah, I'm done. No, I'm not gonna do this. I'm done." And the women were probably just like, "Fine. I will just keep going. I will just keep going." I don't know. Last thing, I absolutely hated how they had the Miley Cyrus song at the end, The Flowers, I think it's called, and they tried to re-spin this entire season in the closing scenes, in the closing montage. They tried to re-spin it as, like, this girl power moment that all of these 3 women took fate into their own hands and said no, and that this was, like, a girl power empowering moment, and I'm just like, "You set them up." So, that's how I feel about that. Let me know how you feel about that, and I cannot wait to watch the reunion today. That is always the best part of the season. Anyways, like, subscribe. I think I'm supposed to be asking you to do these things, but you know what to do already. See you next time.